following is a selection of statements taken from Kurdish anarchists, autonomists, and separatists Springtime of Nations has asked to contribute to our understanding of the situation of the Kurdish nation in Turkey. Kurds make up a significant but disenfranchised minority in the country, which goes to the polls Sunday, May 14, 2023. The party that represented Kurdish interests against the state, the HDP, was banned by the Turkish Electoral Commission, so Kurds have made an agreement with a small Green Party to share any electoral mandates they get. The struggle of Kurdistan we have broadly covered in the Syrian context, where they have managed to wrest political autonomy from the Assad regime. In Turkey, they remain a captive nation. The men and women who helped make this do not speak English as a first language. Most of them lament only being fluent in Turkish, not Kurdish, their mother tongue. Some necessary grammatical changes have been made, but editing has been kept to a minimum to keep the spirit of their thoughts. This is their story. First of all, hello and good luck to you and your channel. We are proud that you want to voice the socioeconomic problems of our people. I will tell you about the massacres and assimilations that have been experienced for 100 years. Today, there is some racism and humiliations made under the name of humor in social media. If a person states that he is a Kurd, he is called a donkey rapist. Kurds are stereotyped as donkey rapists. At the same time, they censor when using the Kurdish name. These are all manifestations of Turkish oppression. How awful to mock a society in such a disgusting way. As we Kurds are an oppressed nation within the scope of social reality, we have reflexively adopted a political line that follows a people's revolutionary national liberation line. This is basic social consciousness and a natural reflex against oppression. The sociological framework, on the other hand, told us this fact. The reality of a 200-year-old Kurdish people and a result of this reminded him of his duties in politics, military duties, and graduation status. This process was based on the annihilation approach of the state policy towards the Kurds and drew a mission that proceeds based on this. For example, the Maras massacre, which took place before the establishment of the PKK, the far-left Kurdish militia, and the Kurds' defense along this line as a result of various policies the state applied to destroy the Kurdish reality, had an impact on the natural ways of this process. Let me give brief methods and examples on this deadlock situation that the Kurds see as prisoners. For example, we were thrown into dungeons when we demanded our rights. We talked and were hanged in Iran. We were killed with chemical weapons because they harbored them in Iraq. In the reality of the Middle East, a language oppression in which millions of people are spoken has been seen. Cultural realities have been massacred and withdrawn to their borders. Is it the Kurds who defend with terrorists and all this cruelty, or is it the countries that do this? To fight against the liberation of our own lands in Rojava, Turkey provided logistics and capital support to jihadist terrorist customers like ISIS, just in order to prevent Kurds from gaining political status. Because of their hostility towards the Kurds, they sent the bombs in the suicide bombing action of ISIS, which caused the death of civilians in Europe and all over the world. Terrorizing the Kurds in the face of such radical fascism and the destructive hatred that governs them. How comprehensive is it, both politically and morally? This is just a short, logical, introductory basis. It will be a reminder of the basis of truth in the face of the approach towards the Kurds. The Ottoman Empire, which was destroyed after the First World War, suffered a heavy destruction. What remains is a collapsed bureaucracy and military. These consisted of the units of the Special Organization, which consisted of criminals. They brought together the criminal men of the Special Organization and the genocidal defense of the law and carried out a collective field, and they carried out ethnic cleansing and systematic pressure within the country. They formed an ethno-fascist Turkish elite based on jingoism. Of course, this was shaped according to the hegemonic equation and the world conjuncture. Throughout its existence, Turkey has systematically adopted an understanding of constantly destroying the Kurdish nation. The annihilation approach towards the Kurds has become a case in point in the systematic model of the Turkish Republic. Of course, they have shaped this in the concept of destruction denial over the years. Our homeland was defined as the land where Turks and Kurds live, in the Amasya meeting signed by Mustafa Kemal Pasha on behalf of the Defense Committee and Salih Pasha on behalf of the Istanbul government. For example, in the Misak Milli, it is stated as the homeland where Turkish and Kurdish elements reside, the national border of brotherly nations, the places where Turks and Kurds live, and the common homeland of Turks and Kurds. In addition, Ataturk stated many times that he would include the definition of Kurdistan in the parliamentary minutes. However, after the laws were established, the law was completely based on Turkishness, and administrative documents were implemented to dissolve all other ethnic origins. In addition, the support of the West, especially the Italians who left arms to the Republic of Ankara on the Aegean coast in 1921, and the Soviets that sold weapons to them, used the logistical support to dissolve the minorities and Kurds in the country. This is due to the fact that the political turnings that have developed in connection with this, especially at the point of the world's political function in the geostrategic geopolitical sense, are shaped through the Middle East, which plays the role of a front for the Third World War today. At that time, the imperialist USA Socialist USSR's Cold War situation in shaping the world conjuncture and the policy depending on it were important in strategic and peak points such as the Middle East and Turkey. Today, Turkey still plays the role of the front in the US-Russian war. In this sense, Turkey has used the capital and bribes it received from the hegemonic powers by suppressing the Kurds in every field. Party leader Erdogan, who has been in power for 20 years, and Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, the leader of the main opposition CHP, are the two strongest candidates in the election. While the economy in Turkey is in a serious mess, in addition to 47 million people living below the poverty line, the number of unemployment in the country has exceeded 8 million. There is a very serious situation of incompetence and inflation. Using this as a trump card, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu will bring the country to a position that will make it live again, while he promises that he will restore democracy, which has lost its merit and reputation, and that he promises a beautiful and livable country to the nation. Erdogan is trying to take advantage of the weakness of the Turkish nation, as he has done for years, with the speculative approaches he has created for years before the election saying, "If I go, the country will collapse. The Turkish enemies and the USA will triumph. They will end Islam." Rojava Kurds, whom he sees as terrorists, agitate and bind the nation to itself through stereotyped and dead-end discourses, as if they are dividing our country. In addition, under normal conditions, Erdogan has the right to be a candidate at least 2 times in the country, but by breaking this law, he became a candidate for the 3rd time. This situation points to the fact that Erdogan can sabotage the elections with a dictatorial approach by taking over the law and all state organs. The HDP party, which represents the Kurds, sided with the CHP leader to overthrow Erdogan in this election. Now, says Erdogan, terrorists support them, creating a propaganda trump card. Although Erdogan, who is currently abusing religion in general, tries to take advantage of the national feelings of the people, it is seen that the opposition leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu takes the lead in most of the opinion polls. Theoretically, the fact that the country's many problems in the text of the policies prepared by the CHP and their allied parties do not address the Kurdish question is a problem for the Kurds. At this point, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu's only promise is that Kurdish politicians held hostage in prison will be released and that the situation of trustees thrown into municipalities won by Kurdish parties will disappear. Although he did not personally address the Kurdish issue, he made promises to the Kurdish party. In addition to this, there are many factors affecting the election: its position in the international arena and Erdogan's oppressed foreign relations, especially with the Moscow delegation, drags him to a difficult point in every sense. While the presence of Erdogan remains, it is a guarantee for the opposition forces arrayed against Rojava and northern Syria as he moves away from Western policy and approach. This situation could reveal a situation of a dead-end war policy in the Middle East if Erdogan wins. Despite this, Erdogan, who knows that he is in a difficult situation in this election, has started the attack on Rojava on a small scale on his own initiative, beyond the powers and equations in international arena. I think that Erdogan, who would definitely lose under normal conditions, can apply any kind of sabotage situation at any time with this anger he has, or he will bring with him elements that cause damage after he falls.
Selamcı xani vergirdin peyamber girdin peyam Ubeydullah Abdüselamcı xani vergirdin peyamber girdin peyam Wan firkirim wan amezim ve miridek jiwan remam jiwan remam
لسرداش و لبازیان شاهد و برده قارمان